Hello and welcome to Voice It. This is a platform where we create meaningful dialogues with the aim of empowering you to be an active citizen. And so if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and be part of the Voice It squad. Also, click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on the notifications anytime we put up new videos. Now, today I want us to have a conversation that will empower you and help you increase your employability. So with me today is an amazing lady who will help us go through tips that will make you, the 5 tips that will make you stand out in a job interview. So you need to watch this video. Dorcas Kinyua is the CEO and founder of Corporate Manpower. Corporate Manpower East Africa is an industry-leading recruitment agency offering shortlisting services and end-to-end recruitment service, and also HR consultancy to growing medium-sized companies across East Africa since 2017. So welcome to my show, Dorcas. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you.
Yes, so it's such an honor to host you, and I'm so happy to see you after such a long time. I know you're one of these amazing ladies who are doing extraordinary stuff, especially in the corporate scene,
yes.
And you'll be telling us more on that front. But for now, I would like you to just tell us briefly, what exactly does Corporate Manpower do?
Okay, so thank you for hosting me, Winnie. And if I was to just briefly describe what Corporate Manpower does, is we are Corporate Manpower East Africa is a recruitment agency and a HR consultancy firm. So we offer shortlisting and end-to-end recruitment services, whereby to SMEs, whereby we help them basically find the right candidates who meet their needs within and they are able to save time and cost. That is what we aim to help SMEs with.
Ah, great.
Yes, and aside from that, we also offer career advisory services. This ranges from CV writing to job interview preparation. And we are recently also offering coaching services to our clients.
Wow, great. And I think that last capacity is the reason why we are having this interview, where we want to give the fans of Voice It an opportunity to learn on tips on how to stand out during an interview. And so you are the expert in this, and I also let you take the lead. So what are the 5 tips that will make a candidate stand out in an interview?
Okay, thank you for that. I think it's very interesting. Over the years, since I started doing my recruitment business, I've done it for since 2012.
2012.
But however, the firm is 2 years old now, Corporate Manpower. Started it in 2017. So over the years, I've interacted with thousands of candidates, and I find most of them don't do themselves justice. So for tip number 1, we always say that an interview is like it's like a what do I call it? We say a job interview is like a performance.
Yes.
You know. So from the first tip, which is impressing, first impressions, and this first impression starts from when you are called for the interview. The minute you pick that call, someone is inviting you for an interview. You know, the way you respond, are you enthusiastic on phone? Are you excited about the job opportunity? Are you asking questions, about the job? Because I find some of us, we call candidates for an interview, and they are not, either they don't respond or they don't call back. Others don't even remember that they applied for that job.
Exactly.
Yeah, so impressions will start from there.
Yeah.
So the way you respond to calls, what time you get to the interview room, to how you dress, basically.
Yes.
So whether it's a formal, you need to do research. Are you in a formal sector? Are you an informal sector? Like, technology companies, they tend to dress down. If it is maybe the creative agencies, they are also laid back. So they don't expect you sometimes to go with
black
suits, black suit, or
and a tie.
Yes, so you need to know what interview you're going for and how do you impress. The way you dress, the way you talk, the way you respond.
Yes.
All those are first impressions.
Great.
Yes.
And tip number 2?
Yeah, then for tip number 2, you need to brand yourself. And the way you brand yourself will start from your CV that you used to apply for the job and the cover letter you used to how now you project that brand which made the employer invite you for an interview in the job interview itself, the session. So, tell stories, that show who you are as a brand, that shows your expertise. That is how you brand yourself, because remember we say that branding differentiates a product.
Yes.
So you as a product, the employer is asking, what is in it for me? For me to hire this person. So you need to show the value that you're bringing to the table. That is part of branding. So am I saying that as a salesperson, then I have been able to achieve maybe increase sales by 80%, or I'm able to surpass my targets with a certain percentage? They must be quantifiable.
Yeah.
If you're talking about finance, then you're saying of can you help a company reduce its cost, operational costs? Because every employer wants to reduce the costs and maximize the profits. So as a job seeker, you need to brand yourself and bring that brand now, sell it to the employer, because they're going to hire you based on the brand that you tell them, this is who I am and this is what I offer. If you like me, you hire me. And they will definitely do that.
So I think that borders on the communication side of things.
Yes, there is partially communication, and there is also the element of being different. So being able to give your quantifiable. How can you quantify your achievements? For instance, if I'm a marketer, I want to say that I run these campaigns. So how do you execute them? What are the results? Then you quantify that, because now that is what differentiates someone who is in marketing with another one who is also a marketer in the same field.
Exactly.
But then I can see this one ran this campaign and this is how it was executed. These are the results. This one is just telling me they did a campaign and there was nothing. So there's partially communication and partially also knowing what do you say in an interview.
Yes. And I think that's quite enlightening, because I think that's something that cuts across even for people who are looking like for scholarships. Like, you need to show the value. It's not about the grades that you've achieved or other similar fellowships or scholarships that you've gotten, but it's on maybe your performance record. How you're supposed to communicate that. So how do you brand yourself in a CV? What exactly do you incorporate, or is there a technique for you to do that?
Yeah, sure. There is a technique, and the same technique should be the same that you carry to the interview. So, because some of us get professionals to do for them CVs, but they cannot do that in an interview. Remember, we are saying tips to stand out, because everyone has been called to an interview based on their CV. So for the CV, you have to show how can you quantify the same things that we've talked about. How can you quantify your achievements, your contributions in a company? Do you take self-initiative? Do you volunteer in projects which are strategic to the company? Because those are the things that give you an edge. Because you are a marketer, another person is a marketer, and you do the same roles. So you must be different in a way. So if you're doing events, then sure, I did this event. These are the number of attendees who came. This is how I did it. These are the leads we generated. This is what we achieved in terms of revenue from that, the outcome. So you must be very strategic, even in the way you write your interview, the way you showcase your skills, and how basically you just have a punchline of who you are as a candidate. Yes.
Wow, great. I think that should take us to tip number 3.
Yes.
How to stand out in a job interview.
Yeah, so the other thing to stand out in a job interview is the tip number 3 is you shouldn't be, it's not all about yourself. You need to show what it is that you can offer the employer. So, there's some candidates who come to an interview and they're just telling us, like, I want this job because of this and this. It's all about you. You are telling us you've worked in this company and these were my roles. You worked in company B and these were my roles. Company C and these were my roles.
Yeah.
You're not telling us through that experience that you got there, how can it change my company? As an employer, that's what I look for. And mostly employers will hire such candidates. Those who are not, they're not telling us about ourselves. They're telling us these are the skills I have, and this is what these skills can do for you as a company. And this will be showcased by your past experiences, your past contributions in the employers, in your previous employers, and how it is now you can translate that and show them, hey, I know you guys are expanding, and I have been involved in the past in company A, and they were doing expansion. These were my roles, and this is how I did. So I think my experience can help you in doing brand awareness, in doing acquiring new customers, for instance, if it's sales.
So you've done your background check on your potential employer.
Exactly. So you need to marry your previous experience and the outcomes to what it is that you can help this employer to do.
Right, and so I hope you guys are following. Yes, we need you to get those jobs and change your lives, change the lives of the economy, and we move forward. So let's go to tip number 4 on how to stand out on an interview. Okay,
the next tip on standing out in an interview is also about asking questions. And I've done this severally on my website. I have an article which I've done about questions you should ask before the interview, during the interview, and also after the interview. I think most candidates do not do that. Ask questions, and this shows you are enthusiastic. It shows you are interested in the job. You want to know more. So when you talk of asking questions before the interview, when say HR or an admin calls you to invite you for the interview, there are 2 things you should ask. At least know, of course they will tell you about the time and the venue, but know how many people are you going to meet in the interview. It will be awkward to start asking someone, like I say, don't ask that. When did I apply for this job?
How did you get my CV?
Yes. Please don't ask. But even if you don't know, you need to ask in a clever way.
Exactly.
You're inviting me for an interview on this one, which is a role, because sometimes you might have dropped your CV in a recruitment agency. They have gotten a position, and they've just called you. You didn't apply for it, right?
Yeah.
But then, in that case, then. It's good what is the role pertaining.
Yes.
Just ask them, do you have a JD? So for instance, if a recruitment agency calls you, you hadn't applied for that job, ask them even for the job description of that job. Because I find candidates who are invited for an interview, but someone never bothered to find out the job description, and the job description is very important when you're preparing for an interview.
Very crucial. Sorry to cut you short. I think, and she's probably watching, and it's a friend of mine, and she was called for a similar interview the other day, like exactly what you're speaking about. And she went there, she had no clue what the interview was about, and she was afraid of asking. And so, because that's what she was sharing later, and then she was like, I've really left an interview room, and you're sure you sucked. Because she got there, she's into HR, so when she was called, she assumed it's that. Only to get there and find it's stuff to do with marketing, and she was also afraid of. So it's a common practice, and I like that you brought it out. Yes.
We need to let the candidates out there know. Ask the question. If you never applied for that job, ask the question. Can I get the job description? Sometimes you don't need to ask which role.
Yeah,
Just tell
yeah.
them in a clever way. Would you share with me the job description of that role? You know? So that way it helps you prepare for the interview and know what exactly are you interested in that role. Because sometimes I can imagine your friend must have reached there and she's like, marketing?
She's even been told some marketing and sales jargon she's never had.
Exactly. You don't relate.
Yeah.
And it's so easy now to make the interviewers uninterested in you.
Exactly.
And it could be a very good candidate for another role.
True.
Yeah. So always ask those questions before the interview. Who are you interviewing with? Who are the panelists? At least you know, so that you're not going there and you're finding, you're expecting one person and then you meet a group of 5 people or 6 and then you're afraid.
Yes.
Yeah. So the thing you should ask is, things like, what do you need to carry for the interview? It is common sense that you need to carry the CV and the
academic certificates.
Yes, academic certificates.
Yeah.
But at times I find candidates who sometimes just carry the CV and you don't carry the academics.
Yes.
And sometimes you carry the academics and they don't even look at it, especially if it's the first interview. So clarify. Just always clarify with them. What documents are you expecting to get from me? Can I carry the CV, a cover letter, and what else? Just clarify that. And of course, now during the interview, now we are saying that is the impression before.
Yeah.
But during the interview, ask questions which are which will show you have interest in the job, because they must be relevant. So tell the interviewer about what are the key performance indicators for this role.
Yes.
It will show that you want to contribute. Or what am I going to be measured on?
Yes.
What are your expected deliverables in the first 90 days? Because then it shows you what are the expectations of this role. So there are several questions on those articles, on the article, which I'm sure we can let our audience
I'll definitely
visit the website for corporate manpower.
I will share the link to questions you can ask before and after an interview.
Yes.
I will share the link in the description box below so you can check out that article.
Exactly.
Yes, and so we move to the next tip.
Yeah, so the last tip will be about how you follow up.
Follow up.
Yes.
Not those ones of calling mulisha andika na ile kazi.
Yeah. I find follow up start from after the interview. The way you maybe before I talk of follow up is about also stories, which is very important. Let me just mention telling stories during the interview.
So is that another
as
tip
a tip?
as well? Ah, great.
Yes, as
so
a tip.
she's just officially made the tip 6.
Yes.
So we are good to go.
Because telling a story is
Telling
very
a story,
important.
yes.
From when the interviewer asks you to tell us about yourself, you need to have a very
common
good
question
story
during an interview
about that. Yes. To every question, you need to give a story. And successful interviewers always have stories to tell about their career.
True.
That is how people get hired. And you wonder, how comes this person gets hired faster and me I don't get hired? You have a story.
Is that what they call anecdotes? Yes. That should be it.
Yes.
Ah,
you have a story. So tell us about yourself. You're there. You're telling people. Of course, it's a story that also differentiates you. Remember, you have to tie all the things that stand out to this story.
Yeah.
So you tell people, this is who I am. Of course, your name, your education, and just a small summary of your work experience, where you started your career and what you've achieved through the various roles. Remember, I'm saying it's not what you do in your role, but what you've achieved. You can just mention, I am responsible for 1, 2, 3, 4. Just at least 4 things that you're responsible for. But through that, what have you contributed? That is a very interesting story. So a salesperson who is, say you are selling IT products, then you need to know the the products you're selling.
Yes.
Who are you selling? How do you prospect? How do you close? What numbers have you brought into the company within what duration?
Yes.
You know, and then just mention what drives you as a person. Yeah, so you must tell very good stories. Yes, and these stories must have different. They must be different from another person.
Yes.
Yes.
And they need to be genuine.
Yeah, genuine
And
stories.
relevant.
Of course, the interviewer will know. If you lie to them, they
Exactly.
will know. They will ask you another question and you will not remember. what to tell them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that is
interesting.
interesting. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
You know, the other day I was applying for the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and I think that exactly is one of the key metrics, because there's a question they have on the application form, and they're asking Mandela, because the Mandela Washington Fellowship is based on in honor of Mandela, Nelson Mandela, and so there's a question where they say he was able to end apartheid based on negotiating between I don't know who and who, and so they're asking you what situation in your leadership role were you met with a conflicting situation, and how were you able to make a decision as a leader? You say, so that's exactly what you say.
Yeah. So you see, in something like such a question in terms of conflict, the interviewer there or whoever is asking that question is just trying to look: are you able to identify the conflict? How do you resolve it? And what is the outcome? That's basically the story you should tell.
Yeah.
These are the conflicts. This is how I dealt with it. I resolved it, and this was the outcome.
Yeah, thank you for that tip, because I didn't even finish feelings. I shall be finishing later today, so I will put those tips into practice.
Yes, exactly. And now our last tip, our sixth tip, was about following up.
Yes.
And follow up after the interview starts from immediately you're done with the interview. So if, for instance, you do not have the contacts for the HR,
Yes.
there's a clever way of doing it. Remember, the last thing most interviewers will ask you is, do you have questions for us? So as they finish, wrap it up, just ask, may I kindly have your business cards? You know? So that way is a clever way of getting the contacts of the interviewers or the person who you'll be reporting to, because sometimes the interviews have the line managers.
True.
Yes. So you get their contacts.
And the business card has everything.
Yes,
Email,
it
phone
has
number.
email, phone number, anything that you want from them, you will get. And because you may even be the only one who asked for that business card. That's another way to stand out.
This is a professional. Wow, wow.
So you get that. Then immediately after the interview, the same day, within the same day, just make sure that you send a thank you note. And a thank you note is just thanking the interviewers for, of course, remember to write down their names. So you thank them for interviewing you and giving you the opportunities. And of course also show how you contribute. Remember we talked of enthusiasm. You must be enthusiastic about the role. So show how you can contribute. Just a recap. Then after that, of course you'll be looking forward. Some of them tell you they will communicate in 2 weeks' time or in 3 weeks' time. Yeah. Or some just tell you we will communicate to you.
Yes.
So after 2 weeks, ideally, the most ideal time to follow up, after 2 weeks.
Yes.
You know, if they are not told you they will, the duration they will have given you feedback, follow up after 2 weeks. However, there are some employers who tell you, we'll call you in a week's time.
Yes.
You know? So after a week's time is done, give it like at least 2 days. Because at times, there's a lot that happens in that decision making in the interviewing process.
Yes.
So give it at least 2 days, then you can follow up. So if I went on interview on Monday, I was told they'll call me after a week, and the next Monday I'm following up. No. So make it Wednesday, Thursday, you know, follow up, give them a bit of time.
Yeah.
Because for some reasons, some things delay. Yeah. So you follow up, and then after that, then you do an email follow-up. Please don't call. Follow up with an
Or
email.
WhatsApp.
And then now you can call. Yeah, don't WhatsApp.
Don't WhatsApp.
Yes, yes.
Ah.
So do an email first, and then now when you call the second time, probably maybe a week is over and you're still wondering what's happening, then you can do the phone call and tell them, I interviewed for this role, I had, and of course you'll have now a very good story that you sent an email to follow up, you haven't heard from them, so when do you expect to hear from them, you know? Yeah, so do the email first and then the phone call.
Ah,
Yes.
great. Thank you so much for those tips. And so I hope you've really learned a lot, and I've enjoyed it. We started as 5 tips on what to make you stand out during an interview. And as Dorcas mentioned, the first one is creating the right impression. The second one is branding yourself. Third one is not making it about you and your roles, but what value you add to your employer and what's in need for your employer. And the other one is asking questions when you get that call for the interview, during the interview, and even afterwards. And the fifth one is telling stories, like I'm not explaining, telling stories. And then the last one is doing follow-ups. And so I've realized actually during these conversations that there are sort of some mistakes that might come about during an interview, and I'm thinking this is a conversation we need to have, Dorcas.
Yes.
So maybe in the second part, right after the break, maybe we can discuss. We're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we are going to discuss mistakes to avoid during an interview.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, there are several of them, but we'll focus on at least the most common interview
mistakes.
At least which candidates should avoid.
Right, so if you want to find out what the common mistakes are during interviews and how to avoid them, watch out for this second part.